We are very fortunate today to have Andy Best, who heads up Charity Toolkit. So that's the team that develop apps that integrate for Donorfy, and he will be showing us how the integration works and be available to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to pop any questions that you've got in the chat box, or if you want to wait till the end, you can raise your hand and switch on your mics and ask questions in person. So if I could just ask if anyone's got their mics on, if you could just pop yourself on mute, just so that there's no distractions during Andy's session. And I think that is everything. So I will hand over to you, Andy.
Thanks very much, Sally. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming along. Just on the subject of distractions there, I will add there is some building work going on directly above me here. I hope it's not going to bring the audio through, but if it does, yeah, apologize for that. Anything you don't catch, please do throw that in the chat or the questions at the end, and I'll recap. Yeah, I'm gonna just share my screen. So hopefully you're now seeing me again, albeit now it's the slideshow. So yes, as Sally said there, I'm Andy Best. I'm the co-founder of Charity Toolkit. I've been a certified Donorfy partner since 2015, so that's 10 years now. That's going well. Principally, Charity Toolkit develops integrations between other platforms and systems and services and Donorfy. We develop donation tools, peer-to-peer fundraising tools, really bespoke custom integrations between different services. But today we're going to focus on principally the much loved to Donorfy integration. And that's in version 2 at the moment. Version 3 is going through. It's on the roadmap, so we're going to start picking that up as soon as we get something else out of the way. Basically, we're constantly evolving the product. The more customers we get on board, the more we're learning about their needs and wants, and the more we're able to build out future iterations and versions of the products. As I say, we're on version 2 at the moment. Version 3 is on the roadmap. So the way it works, it's a subscription product. We ask that you would join the program by signing up for subscription at the form or the address here, so andybest.com/charity-toolkit. There's a registration form there. As part of that registration to the subscription, we ask what plan you want to go on. We have a daily updates plan. We have a weekly updates plan. Effectively, that's how often or how frequently you want transmissions from the MuchLoved side to the Donorfy side to occur. It's all done through the API system. So we have the API connected on a schedule that we host. And we run that approximately between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning, so that we don't interfere with any other kind of service calls being made by the platform at that time. It's just a low traffic sort of time. So you'd be picking up in the morning when you get to your desk, anything that happened the day before or the week before. It's a Sunday transmission if you go for the weekly. When you're signing up on that form, we're going to capture some, obviously, some registration details for yourselves and your charity, so we know who you are and how to connect to your platforms by way of API keys. So we'd be getting from you a MuchLoved application ID, an application key. I believe you need to reach out to your MuchLoved representative to acquire those. From the Donorfy side, you do have means to acquire your own API key as an API access key also. From the Donorfy side, supply those through the form. There is an option in the registration form. If you don't have those ready, you don't have those to hand, you can still sign up for the product, but we get a notification to reach out to you after the fact to request those things when you do have them. And then there's a few other configuration questions when you sign up as well. How you want gift aid reflected, for example, whether or not you do want to carry over offline donations. So MuchLoved takes both online donations and offline donations. Typically that's split, I believe, into online donations are those made directly through tributes and tribute pages. The offline ones tend to come through from funeral directors and similar organizations who have other means to interface with MuchLoved, and some charities would rather they don't carry those through, some do. So we have a flag that we ask for there, and the frequency of giving as well. We can carry over just the one-off donations, or we can carry over every recurring donation that gets made on a direct debit schedule as well. So that and a few others, there are some configuration options just to make sure that your branch, your integration to the product is going to carry over what it is that you need. And that's about it. Very short presentation. No, I'm kidding. There's more. But this is it. In essence, this is it. Once we have those connection details and your preferences, we develop a branch on our product that's yours, and it runs silently behind the scenes at the interval you selected. So as I say, daily or weekly, you'll see evidence of it doing what it does in the morning when you turn up. So I can show you what some of that evidence looks like and what you'll see on the Donorfy side. Excuse me. So the first time that we run the schedule, the first time that we interface with Donorfy, we're going to generate a whole bunch of nodes and endpoints and things in your Donorfy framework to guarantee that we can interface with it. The way that Donorfy's API works is it needs to guarantee that we have some text labels in some instances, some constituent types, some sorts of tags, things like this. They need to be there in order for subsequent donations to properly be routed through. So the first thing the schedule does is generate those. They're all labeled MuchLoved, so that it's clear that that's where they came from and that's what they're for. As part of the registration process, though, we do take requests. We can hard code these to other things if you've already got an established protocol for, say, your product, your campaign, your funds, activity types, and so on and so on. So this is everything you see on the screen here. This and more. We can either hard code it to your preferences, or, as I say, we have these generic ones put in to at least guarantee we can build those bridges for the data. I've clicked out of there. And then each donation that's made over in MuchLoved, regardless of which tribute it's coming from, which campaign it's coming under, it's going to be part of that payload into Donorfy. Let's take a look at what any one of those donations is going to be comprised of then. It's going to generate 3 records on your Donorfy side, 3 constituent records, because there are 3 members in I suppose a single donation context over at MuchLoved. We have the tribute guardian, the donor themselves, and then what we're calling the tributee, which is the tribute, the deceased person in question. The donor obviously gets their transaction into Donorfy. We create their record if they don't already exist in Donorfy. We do the best we can to match them if they do already exist. We use Donorfy's confidence matrix score for that. So the more data we get out from MuchLoved about an individual, the more likely we can make a decent match for them. Excuse me. And yes, their transaction turns up on their timeline with the beneficiary of that transaction marked to a tributee. So we create a tributee record as well. So this is the who the tribute is made for. This is the deceased person. We create a record for them. We do so using, as you can see in the example there, a generic dummy email address that's unique. The reason why we do that is because they obviously don't have a genuine address that we can tap into, but Donorfy requires that we have an email address when we create a record to make sure that it's unique. So we generate one on the fly, but it also means we have that address available to reference this person again should others donate in their name, and then we can properly attribute that beneficiary connection to them for the subsequent donations that come in their tribute. And then, of course, we connect that transaction, not by beneficiary this time, but by a vanilla connection to the guardian. So the guardian being the person who established the tribute in the first place. We get as much data about them out of MuchLoved as is viable through the endpoint we're using. And again, we look them up to match them, or we create them if we can't. And then as a final flourish to kind of complete that circuit of people involved, we use an individual constituent connection between the guardian and the tributee, just so that depending on which one of these three people you are previewing on their timelines or their profile records, you've got a way through to see who each of the other people in this transaction segment are. Here's what a transaction on the timeline is going to look like from the integration. So as you can see, we're sticking with the vanilla, the dummy nodes that we've reconciled for the transaction. So that's why you're seeing MuchLoved here for the campaign. You're seeing it for the product. You're seeing it for the fund. Excuse me. But you will have those hard coded to whatever else you've requested, as I say, at the point of sign up. You'll see that the processing cost has been carried through there. We get that through MuchLoved. We input that there. Now, because MuchLoved handles your gift aid claim for all the donations that pass through it, we don't actually pass through any active gift aidable costs into the transaction over here on Donorfy, because we don't want you obviously doubling up on the gift aid you claim, since Donorfy allows you to make gift aid claims as well. So the donations coming through here are marked as potentially gift aidable false, but we do have a comment in that comment field of the transaction there just to back up the fact that that's the reason why, should you ever need to drill into that. I think that's everything about that interface. The other thing that we do is we generate a success activity on the timeline. So for every transaction that comes through onto the timeline, it's accompanied by a success activity or a fail activity as well. I'll explain what one of those is in just a moment. The reason why we have the success activity is it sort of behaves a bit like a receipt of the transmission that we've just conducted. It carries through the salient information, but also all of the download information that we got out of MuchLoved for this transaction in the first place. This means if ever anything's been mismatched, we couldn't reconcile something, or you need to investigate something about this transaction and where it originated from, you'll get in the notes field of this activity the full breakdown of data that we were given by MuchLoved in order to process this in the first place. So that will carry some guardian information, some tributee information, obviously the information about the donor and the donation as well. So a success activity is what you want to see. If you're seeing a fail activity on the timeline, we usually append one of those to alert you to the fact that yes, something about the transaction hasn't been able to come through, and probably the likely cause is that you've got a mismatch between your country names saved in Donorfy, for example, and the country name over in MuchLoved. That's a common one that we do see. I believe another one is that Donorfy once upon a time changed its communication channel for text messaging from text to SMS or vice versa, and that change meant that some communication preferences can't be mapped properly since the verbatim label's been changed, and it just depends on the age of your Donorfy account whether or not you're going to fall foul of that. So in the event that we can't reconcile something, we don't just ignore it and it disappears into the ether. We do append a failure activity to the timeline of the person in question, so that again you've got this breakdown in the notes field of what ought to have happened, what should be here, and it hasn't. We can do some manual vetting and investigation there. In terms of support, by the way, all of the customers at Charity Toolkit using our integrations, they're free to email through at any point. We've experienced this, we've experienced that, and we're more than happy within 24 hours usually to drill down into what's going on and produce some sort of solution for you. Extremely rarely has there ever been anything that's genuinely awry. Usually it's just a case of, as I say, a country name hasn't quite mapped correctly. I think there was an issue around the Netherlands versus Holland in Donorfy and the supporting system once upon a time, as another example. Now, what happens if we can't even find the constituent? If we've got not enough data or the wrong data to put a failure event, or any event really, onto a constituent because they didn't supply their title, or they didn't supply a first name, or something pivotal to get them into the Donorfy system in the first place. As part of that original script that puts the repositories into Donorfy in the first place, we generate a dummy constituent. Well, we do three actually: a dummy tribute, a tributee, a dummy guardian, and a dummy donor. So that any activity where we can't reconcile one of those three people, we at least stuff that record of the the failure activity onto their record, so that you can drill into that. So what I recommend doing is, if you were to set up some Donorfy lists, if you wanted to go further and have triggers hanging on those lists, you could get notified of these failure events cropping up. You do get the payload breakdown in the notes field. So again, you can get the genesis of why this failure may have occurred and what to do about it. And it should be something you can reconcile yourself with both systems open in front of you, or if that eludes you, as I say, the support system to get in touch, and we'll do some drilling down for you. As I said a moment ago, because everything is MuchLoved labeled, you can run lists, you can filter by MuchLoved online, offline, and so on for payment methods, for products, campaigns, or whatever else you've hard coded as part of sign up. And that makes it really easy to find what's gone in Donorfy that's come from the integration and not bled in anywhere else. So that's pretty much the product inside and out. As I say, once it's set up, it just runs. We rarely hear from people after that's the case. So our customers are out there just getting their things through. Typically what we see is it'll run for about a month. And then when that data starts to come through and the finance teams have a chance to have a look over it, they might notice, oh, actually, we would rather it be mapped like this on reflection, or rather we'd like to see this instead or that instead. We usually hear back from our customers in that 1 month sort of window to make those adjustments, which we do to their branch of our product, and then that's when we don't hear from them again, unless some sort of failure more prevalent occurs with an individual or a individual transaction. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of my showing bit. Let's see if I can stop that sharing, bring myself back to the fore here. So yeah, thanks for hearing me through there.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to put your hand up and you can ask in person, or feel free to pop them in the chat box. So we'll give it a minute, and it can take a minute or two to put things in the chat. Yeah, Ben.
Hi, thanks for that, Andy. All looks really interesting. One question I had, you spoke a little bit before about online and offline donations.
Yeah.
And we use offline donations sometimes for, say someone sent a check in the post, or they've used our website, and then we'll add it to the tribute fund to kind of show the overall total.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility with the integration to sort of, as well as information coming from MuchLoved to Donorfy, can you send information from Donorfy back to MuchLoved to add offline donations that way around?
Currently, the integration we have doesn't do that. No, it's inbound treatment of donations that have come through. There is no outbound communication back to MuchLoved at this time. Reason being, one, the demand for that hasn't been as such that we've needed to bake that into the product as yet. Two, I think the endpoints we're dealing with are exclusively outbound. So not to say that they don't exist, but from what I've seen, I've not seen yet inbound API connection to MuchLoved. My contact over at MuchLoved might be able to verify that if I reach out to her. But yeah, it's not something we've explored as yet. But like I say, we're on version 2 of the product. Questions like that is what prompts us to develop further versions of the product. So
Okay.
certainly not closed to the idea. No.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. There's a question that's popped up in the chat from Jane. We now only. I'll let you have a look at that.
Yeah, to see individual contributions that are currently mailed to us if we take a subscription. Will we now only be able to see individual contributions that are currently mailed to us if we take a subscription? So I'm not sure I follow the question there, Jane. Individual contributions that are currently mailed to us. If anything that's coming through to your MuchLoved account, regardless of source, as long as it's turning up in the donations interface, will port over to Donorfy under the integration. Yeah, if you that's not a problem. I also have a cough. I tried to downplay that as best I could in my session just there. Ironically, doing that session exacerbated it. Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm getting this right. If individual contributions that are currently mailed to you, I mean, is that similar to what Ben's saying there? Are we talking literally mailing, offline, physical donation? In which case, if they turn up, if you're able to put them into the MuchLoved interface so that they are available within the same endpoint that we extract from, yeah, they should turn up in there. Presumably, then they'll be flagged as offline donations. And as I showed in that final slide there, we do highlight as a payment method in Donorfy, whether it was an offline or an online MuchLoved origin. So from that alone, yeah, if you're mailed in donations are considered offline, that's where they reconcile to Donorfy. Can the donation be soft credit function instead of beneficiary? Fantastic question, a very common question. Currently, no. Donorfy has not exposed its soft credit pool of or its node through its endpoints. It's untouchable through the transaction endpoint that we use. It is accessible through the fundraising pages aspect of Donorfy. The fundraising pages aspect of Donorfy is a little bit more overhead to it. It doesn't quite befit the context of MuchLoved integration. However, the request for the need for soft credit reflection in Donorfy is such that version 3 of our product is going to have that as an option. So it won't be core, but it will be something that when you subscribe to the product, or if you're already subscribed to the product, we can adjust that flag for you to make use of soft crediting. As I say, the downside of that is it's going to create a little bit more clutter on the Donorfy side. There will be a lot of redundant fundraising page vernacular dotted around, but sadly that is currently the only way the soft crediting element of Donorfy is exposed at all in its API, and owing to that, in version 1 we didn't pursue that. But hearing about it, we're gonna provide that option in the forthcoming version. Yeah.
There's a question in the Q&A from Lucy saying at the moment they receive payments from MuchLoved on a monthly basis. So yes, that does mean that if you subscribe, you can get these, if that information, well, not actually the question asks whether we can get that information on payments daily or weekly, but actually, Lucy, we make a payment on a monthly basis. What it would mean is that you could get information on donations that have been made to you on either a weekly or daily basis, and tribute information as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Payment information would remain monthly.
The integration is tailored or trained on rather donation activity, not payout activity. So where you receive your payouts from MuchLoved, that's after the kind of dust has settled on the donations. I should say as well, I haven't mentioned this, when we do those daily or weekly pulls, as part of those, each one we do a 10-day look back. The reason being, we know that some of the recurring payments, the banks take a little while to reconcile recurring payments, particularly if they fall on a weekend or a bank holiday and such. So while we are doing a daily pull, if you've gone for the daily option, it's actually a last 10 days anything we might have missed plus the last day. So we know that the timestamps for some late paying coming in is the time it arrives in your MuchLoved account is not necessarily the time it was placed by the donor. And so to offset that, there is a kind of silent 10-day look back happening in there as well. So we make sure that any of your recurring donations that just took a little bit longer to come out through the bank side of things aren't missed at all.
Implies that we can collect regular gifts, which we can't at the moment. But you can add offline regular gifts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, if there's any other questions, here's your last opportunity to pop them up, or I'm sure you can get in touch with Andy directly if something springs to mind after this session. But yeah, thanks very much for your time.